Together. Absolutely. Yay. Clearing the throat. Being an old man with, I'm old and I've got congestion. That's how my breathing sounds.
Instead of letting go of work, we should let you go of work.
He's letting go of something.
They're just like, we're just going to let you go, but pulling the plug on Brad. This is enough. We've had enough of this shit.
We're supposed to be letting go of work, and Brad's over here letting go of half a gallon of phlegm in his throat. Already. He's like,
and with that beautifulness, welcome to the Mentally Stable-ish podcast. My name is Bradley Ball. I am joined by
Daniel Taylor,
Josh Ludeman.
So this podcast is called Letting Go of Work. And I want to thank you, gentlemen, because between this and our burnout episode, I have realized I have a problem. I did not think until you are all unanimously saying that I was the one that had the hardest time leaving work behind. I thought, no, clearly it's not me. I've got this healthy relationship. And boy, have you brought certainty to my life and helped me realize, no, there is an issue here.
I didn't realize you didn't realize you were the one having trouble letting go. Like when this topic came up, Brad, and you brought it up, yeah, let's talk about letting go of work. I'm like, oh, good. He sees it.
But I didn't.
I thought
Niraj
you did.
No, Niraj said we should do one about letting go of work.
Oh, okay.
And about 30 seconds in, it all comes to light when Brad goes, really?
Out of the four of us, who do you think has the worst time getting away from work? Oh, Brad.
Yeah,
Brad's just like, what?
If you listen closely, you'll hear me go Niraj, and then the shock as all of you go Brad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I learned about myself that I love comic books. I shared a little hack how I unplug. Brad, you shared something really incredible, the different ways we can let go of work. And we found out that Niraj has incredible crown molding.
He does. Most beautiful crown molding. That was unexpected. Niraj didn't even know about his crown molding.
I just realized.
And then even with me, there's a small Easter egg as to why most of the decorations behind me are what they are.
What we all learned from this, and if you're listening to this, you need to let go of work. You need to make sure that you embrace that time with your family. And we need Niraj's neighbor just to fucking knock it off. Jesus Christ, what's up with all this noise?
It sounded like this animal or a creature. It sounded like a whale.
Is he building an ark over there?
Well, he decided on this lovely afternoon that he was going to let go of work early and work on a hobby. And that hobby just seems to be banging on something to irritate the shit out of Brad.
Yeah, clearly.
Mission accomplished.
Well, that neighbor needs to learn how to let it go in his basement watching TV.
Now, in all seriousness, though, I think we all did a great job giving some different things that we do, but also some of the struggles that I think we all still have when letting go of work. So I've talked about this with you gentlemen before, but I feel like this was probably one of the better episodes we've done. And even re-listening to it, I didn't want it to end getting prepared for this.
So I wanted to thank you, gentlemen, because with your help, I'm really feeling a little more mentally stable-ish. There it is.
Let go work.
Let it go. Let it
go.
Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. Way back before we blew it all.
StreamYard asked me to take a survey.
Surveys are for the weak.
Are you not entertained? This is what you came for.
We should have an episode on saying no.
Speaking of surveys, which of us here on the channel you think stays the latest and doesn't take time off of work?
Work or Tales from the Field?
I think all of that is work.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, then Brad.
Brad, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have severely cut back over the last couple of months. I would, at least in the running before that, reading documentation, replying to email. I've shut that down. My work laptop stays upstairs, and what comes downstairs is my personal.
Part of my problem is, and people can't see this if they aren't watching our videos on Tales from the Field, they don't know what my office looks like, but I have spent a lot of time decorating this office, collecting stuff and putting it in here. It's a beautiful office. I love this office. First house I've ever had an office in, and I made it to be able to record. And there are times I am so fucking sick of this office that I cannot stand it. I just want to be out of this office. And there are days where some of our first meetings are at 7:30 in the morning, and I'll have a meeting that goes from 10 to 11 o'clock at night. And in between then, I'm editing and I'm recording stuff. Part of the issue I find, though, and I don't know if anybody else has this, is I don't always feel like I have something good to go spend my time on. My hobby is doing the podcast that we're doing right now. I'll go out and I'll sit on the couch, and sometimes I find myself watching something on Netflix. I don't even care about it. And I'm doing that just to not be in my office. And I don't have a good solution for what I should be doing.
I'll get even worse. I'll stream something that I don't care about and play a game on my phone. For me, that motion right there, like if I'm doing that, it means I'm burnt out because I don't want to look at anything.
When you say doing that, you mean streaming something you don't care about and playing a video game on your phone at the same time?
Yeah. Like I'm not paying attention to that. I'm playing a mindless card game on my phone. That for me is the telltale sign that I need to do something else, something productive, pull away a little bit because I'm so frazzled. I don't even care what I'm doing as long as it's nothing.
Very interesting. I do the same thing, Josh. I mean, sometimes I have the TV on and I'll be on the phone doing chatting, or I mean, not chatting, but I'll be watching like a reel or something like that. And now I can correlate that. Maybe my mind. I mean, I just want to shut out my mind. Very interesting.
One thing I did recently, and Dan, I'm curious to see if you're guilty of this too. I actually started buying physical books again because I realized if I was reading a physical book, I wasn't on my phone and I wasn't looking at the television.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree 100%. And I've been sharing it with y'all. I've been buying the new Deadpool series and the Deadpool versus Wolverine comics. And I'm also reading one called Grimm. And I really have found that I love reading comics again. And my son got me back into it. And that gets me away from work, but real hard time getting away from work some days. Like when I'm heads down, Missy will come in and she'll go, "You realize it's 8 o'clock and we haven't eaten dinner yet." And I'll go, "No, I didn't realize it was 8 o'clock and we haven't eaten dinner yet." But some of that isn't just work. Some of that's Tales from the Field, right? I really enjoy the Tales from the Field part. I don't think of that as work some days. Some days I do. I will admit there's days like you said, Brad, I just want to step up and get away. But yeah, for me, physically picking up a comic book these days and looking at the graphic illustrations and reading that really has helped me step away from the work environment.
Yeah. I mean, and Brad, to your point, and the folks listening can't see, but I've been buying real technical books to learn new skills as well. So like Linux Basics for Hacker, Black Hat Python, Art of Exploitation, to learn security skills, just because I was like, what can I add to my repertoire that maybe is not something that everybody has? And so I started looking at that stuff just to try it out. But I got physical books because I thought about I had a similar thought going through my head as to what you were just saying, Brad. And I was like, you know what? If it's on my screen, that's more screen real estate I lose, but it's also on my screen. And I need to be able to read some of this stuff, like physical page, get away from a screen.
Is that stepping away from work though? Because even though you're learning something different, technology is our job. And I would challenge you to read something else. I know that's what you enjoy, but you're not still stepping away from work. You're still not giving your brain. Go ahead, Naresh.
No, I agree. I mean, you're not, if you're reading a technology book, you're still thinking, so you're not really getting off the work at that
I love the author Brandon Sanderson. I found him because he took over the Wheel of Time series, but I found so many books of his that I've really, really enjoyed. And I just bought one of his new books, went into a Barnes & Noble. I was waiting for Serenity to get out of something school related. And it was actually at the end of last school year. I bought that book and I bought another one. I just finished the other book. It was a Jedi book. I'll be honest, the author wasn't super crazy about it. I felt like there was a lot of places where they were just doing filler information that didn't actually matter to the book. And I started skimming through it. The overall character interaction, the overall premise I liked, I found very engaging, but some of the filler fluff, I don't know that I'm going to go buy the next series if it's written by the same author, but I love Sanderson's stuff. I wanted to push my brain to open up new pathways that literature and art kind of push me in a direction that technology does it. When I saw you bring the technology books, I'll be honest, Josh, I felt my shoulders just knot up. I looked at them and I had a physical reaction where I was like, I don't want to read another tech book. It's like we read so much, we're constantly learning, and yay, that's great. I love that. But at the same time, I'm like, fuck no.
I hear that. I will push back because I have that feeling after coming out of a manager role. I have that same feeling when someone brings up a self-help or professional soft skill book. So I'm at the other end of the spectrum where, to your point, Dan, it's still technology and it's still aligned with work. But for the last 3 years, I have not been doing technology aligned with work. Oh, this is field day. Here we go, people. Let's bring out the confetti and the bombs and the fireworks. Let's go.
But I think this is interesting, right? Because it gets down to what's technically interesting to your brain.
I had a question for all of you. I have my work email and my Teams chat and all the stuff on the phone. You guys get stuck to that phone even after work hours. I'm forced to rush on it even if I'm driving. In the night also, while either you're watching a TV or doing something else, as soon as it beeps, I'm like first to check what's going on.
I use the focus profiles on my iPhone. During work, my work stuff is allowed through onto my phone. That way, if I walk downstairs away from the machine, I get, something urgent comes up during the work day. But if it's not, my personal profile's on, and that basically shuts down all the notifications from work apps. I let Authenticator through, but I do not let through, Outlook, any Outlook. I don't let through Teams. So I use the hell out of those profiles.
So you just do turn off the notification after 6 p.m. or whatever?
It automatically turns off at 5.
Oh, wow.
Even if I'm working a little bit late at the desk, that last little bit that I'm doing is even more productive because I don't get any notifications. And I have it hard-coded into Teams too. Teams does not notify me after 5.
I turned off all mine during COVID. Very rare exceptions do I open up Teams or email when I'm no longer sitting at my desk. I make sure that's a desk thing. If I'm off hours, if you're not going to call me, it's not critical enough for me to look at.
Now, to be fair to your question, Niraj, when I was a manager, my notifications were on 24/7 because I didn't know if, could be emergency with the team and stuff like that. So I always had them on then. But this is since going back to an IC role. Yeah, no, that stuff shuts off.
When you were a manager, you were always like you'll attend meetings at 11 o'clock with the Asia team or EMEA team. So now you stop doing that. I've also attended meetings, and then I have heard from my managers or some other people saying, "Why did you attend? Why there was no need for you to attend?"
No, I don't attend that stuff anymore. Not at all.
We're talking about the trouble with letting go right now.
I can't let it go. That's what I meant. That's what in the morning when I wake up, I'm the first thing I check is on the phone.
We're going to revisit that. But the first thing I wanted to go through was I got an article here, a little bit of research for us to take a look at. PsychCentral.com. I don't know why immediately felt like it should have been a fan site for the show Psych. Absolutely fantastic. Love that show. First thing it says is when you're trying to leave work behind, mindful breathing, practice breathing exercise or meditation to help you relax, doing something symbolic to release nagging thoughts. What happens when work can seep into our personal lives, from dinner time to relaxing in front of the television when you find yourself ruminating over work issues? How do you do something symbolic? And it could be changing clothes, changing from one outfit to another, taking a shower, something that allows you to have a mental transition to go, I've gone from this point. Visualize your exit. If you find unwinding at the end of the day to be challenging, try this visualization. A daily dose of levity or humor. One of the best antidotes for stress is humor. We've all heard the saying, laughter is the best medicine because nothing lifts the spirits like laughter. Turn off autopilot. Be present in your transition. Pretend to be a tourist on your way home from work. Oh, I like this idea. Have you ever noticed how sometimes you take for granted the area that you're in? We don't have a daily commute, but it's easy to overlook things.
You said that one, and I was sitting here going, oh, I'm going to be a tourist in my own home. I've never seen these stairs before. They look really interesting. What a wonderful design for the kitchen. I like that.
Yeah, I can see how that last one's full of shit for people working from home. However, the tip that I would give there, I think about this often. Look at a little baby, right? Babies are absolutely amazed by everything. Toddlers as well. You throw something up, it goes down. Gravity is absolutely fascinating, but there's a point in time we take it for granted. Looking up at ceiling fans, looking at art on the ceiling, looking at the way that we decorate things. Sometimes we only look at a certain eye level. Niraj, you're in a beautiful house. You just built that house, and I can see the room you're in right now. You got some great crown molding going around that room. If you thought about how the corners connect at the joints behind you, you might be like, I don't look.
Niraj looks up and goes,
that ruins the exercise.
"Damn, there's a crack there."
but
Hey, Niraj, nice crown molding.
Niraj is like, do I even have fucking crown molding in this room? What?
Oh wow, I do. That's awfully pretty looking. Hey.
Good looking crown molding you got. You get what I'm saying. Sometimes looking at things and allowing yourself to look at things with fresh eyes can give you a new wonderment of things. We've all seen a million sunrises, but when you look at a sunrise and think about the fact that you're only going to see this one single sunrise once, it's absolutely amazing.
Mhm.
Anything in there that you guys use?
Absolutely. And I know, Josh, you were joking about the stairs, but I literally go out on my back porch, and every night it's something new and amazing. I get to watch a beautiful sunset, to your point, Brad. Every night, a new sunset, and they're bright, they're vibrant. Sometimes there's storm clouds, there's lightning crashing, there's thunder crashing, rain on one side of the lake and sunny on the other side. That's Florida, y'all folks. Put a bench on that side of the porch where I just go out there and I try and disconnect. Back to Niraj's point, and I have a really bad time at this, guys, and I need help from you all, is I look at Teams, I look at email until I go to bed. My brain is not shutting down these days. I have a way to disconnect from the laptop, and I'll share that secret in a little bit here, but I don't shut off from my freaking phone. The phone is the worst invention I think ever invented.
Focus profiles, my friend. You can include applications to get through one of the profiles, or you can exclude applications, which is what I did. For work, it's include to let them through, and for after hours, it's exclude.
But the problem is, Josh, I pick up my phone and I open up Outlook. I literally don't let the profiles do their work. It's a me thing.
Yeah,
it's definitely a me thing.
You need to end that.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a great question, Brad. So for me, it's looking at the sunsets.
I think for me, it's changing gears, doing something completely different. Once I get out of here, I go downstairs and start cooking dinner. Now, the one thing to get me out of this room quicker is the fact that I have mouths to feed downstairs texting me going, "When are you going to start dinner?" So that's kind of what I do and it's a complete context switch, herding cats some days and then go downstairs and you're slicing shallots. By the grace of God, somebody else decides they're going to cook. I'll break out a Lego and work on that until dinner's ready.
So Niraj, you've been really quiet sitting down there in the lower left-hand corner. How do you disconnect?
So I usually disconnect is going out for a long walk. That's the only time where I would disconnect from everything. I mean, completely not even the phone or anything in that. It's summer right now, so you see kids out there playing things or something going on. So that's what I like to do it. The newly thing that I've probably during COVID we got into use is driving through neighborhoods, looking at new houses, looking at new things that people have built up and getting some ideas. I mean, houses built, but the activity continues. That's how we try to disconnect completely out.
So in your dating profile online, long walks on the beach and driving through your neighborhood, stalking your house.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So you've been quiet up there, Brad. Seems like we got you thinking. What's going on, my friend?
There's a video I was trying to find, and it's called The Timeline of Your Life by a YouTuber named, I think it's Kirk Gazetz. Have you ever seen that video?
No.
It's absolutely fascinating to me. I'm going to find it and I'm going to send it to you guys. I only found it because my kids love Markiplier. I don't know if you know who Markiplier is, but he's really just amazing YouTuber, got a lot of stuff. A lot of the videos that he does are either with friends or playing games with friends. Really, really fun, hilarious, awesome stuff. Love that dude. He was talking about how his dad died at 18. He felt like he went through a lot of his life without his dad. Well, the amazing thing about this video is it breaks down your life. And basically, this is how much time you have. And like, this is when you're in your 20s. This is when your brain is fully developed. When it gets to 18, one of the things it says, if you leave the house, if you go to college, if you have a family, live away from home, even if you're an hour and a half away from home, 90% of the time that you will ever spend with your parents in your life occurs in those first 18 years of your life. that the rest of your life is only going to be 10% of the time that you have with your parents. Makes sense. My parents are over in St. Pete. I absolutely love them. I probably, if I'm lucky, see them once a month. And we go and we do stuff together, and it's a couple hours, and it's always wonderful, and it's always meaning. It's this small monicum of time. And as a parent, especially as the kids are going to college and the kids are graduating, one of the things I keep thinking about as I've watched that video, that 90% of my time that I have with my kids is done. And it talks about how, like, it looks at a life. Like, let's say that you're lucky and you get your life up until your 80s. And as the timeline of your life goes, it goes, this is how many summers and winters and Christmases that you have. I mean, it's a crazy idea. I'm 47, right? If I'm lucky, I'm very lucky, make it to 82. Most folks in my family, my grandparents died between 72 and 74. Let's even say I make it to 80, just to make the math easy. Well, that's 33 years. If you think about that, that's 33 Christmases. That's 33 summers, 33 falls, 33 winters. When we're recording this, we are sitting in fall. So I check those off. That's 32. And every single day we talk about how we push these things off. When COVID happened, our best friend Gareth passed. And when Gareth passed, one of the things that was kicking around in my brain, one of my favorite sayings from this book, the Little Buddhist Handbook, which says, the trouble is you believe you have time. I thought my best friend Gareth would be in my life for decades to come. I thought that he would be sitting there. We had joked about how we were going to have houses next to one another. When we retired, we would both have a bar at one another's houses. We would take turns going over to one another's bars and drinkings, and our wives would get sick of us because we would constantly be hanging out with each other. When Gareth died, I was expecting that I had decades left with him. And as I listen to us sit here and talk about this, it just made me super reflective on the concept of time. This, as we're looking at how do we let go of work? The most critical, important thing out of this whole conversation is our time is limited. I mean, for all of us sitting here on this call, more than likely, we have less time in front of us than we have sitting behind us. And that's to spend with our kids. That's to spend with our parents. That's to spend with our spouses. That's to go out and do things that we've never thought of doing or trying before. And it just strikes me how there are things I want to do. Tales, this podcast, this is the work I want to do. If you gave me $1 billion tomorrow, maybe I'm not making YouTube videos, but I'd still make this podcast. This is the stuff that I want to do. And so I think one of the key things is, what is it that we want to get out of our time? What is it that we want to do? And in these windows where we still have kids sitting at home, how important it is to disconnect from work and build those memories, because it's just flying by so fast and it's going to be gone, sands through your fingertips before you know it.
So let's be honest, Brad. And by the way, any investors out there or multimillionaires or anything like that, if somebody gave each of us $4 million on this channel, I am happy to produce Tales from the Field YouTube videos and podcasts for you all day long. And that will be my job fully. This is very, very sobering. I turned 55 this year. I've got my best days behind me, but I've got a lot of great days ahead of me. My goal now is to hit 65 and retire, regardless of where I am, because I've spent so many of my years wondering what I could be. I want to find out what I can be. And at 65 forward, you're going to find me anchoring a fly fishing or our little polka dot horse farm and stuff like that. But yeah, sorry, I digress there.
Dan's going to be on a mountain somewhere, sipping coffee, watching a sunrise.
I can see that, Dan, in the mountains and watching the sunset.
I didn't necessarily go down the road with Gareth, but as part of my time off I took earlier this year, I reflected on it from the kids' angle that you mentioned, Brad. Out of those 3 weeks, part of that time I spent and did like almost a week-long road trip with my oldest, who's going off to college this year. She's been in college for a couple of years already, but she's transferring and finally going away to a campus. For me, that was the one that hit hard to process that, look at myself in the mirror and go, you idiot, you are spending way too much time doing work that in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter.
Can I give you a compliment though, as a dad?
What's that?
Because I love that you did this. There was one year that up at Microsoft, they had to take your kids to work day. Yeah. We're all working remote. You took the family, you flew to Seattle.
Yep.
You went up there, you took the girls. They were also having the hackathon up there, which is an amazing event that they do on the campus. It's almost like going to Epcot. They've got food stalls. They've got everybody's out there showing the different projects that they've got. You could participate in different projects. It's amazing. It is one of the coolest things I've ever seen before in my life.
And for me, one of the coolest things in it is as well during that, they have the garage up there, which if you're not familiar, the garage is a maker's paradise. They have 3D printers, soldering stations, all kinds of stuff. Part of what they were doing is bring your kid to work day. They had kid-focused sessions going on for all age groups. And so we spent a good couple hours over there. That was a lot of fun.
You came back, you told me all about that. And I went, man, I want to take my kids to do that. And now I sit here and I go, Zachary's 20, about to be 21. William's 19, about to be 20. And they're both at college. Serenity's in high school. Chesney's already married. And I go, my ability to take anybody to take your child to work day, I could take Serenity, probably couldn't get the kids to be able to have to, you can't take time off college to be able to go do something like that. That's what drew me down the philosophical path to go, this is all about how do we unplug enough to be able to see what is important in front of us. And even with that, we're all very lucky. We have good relationships with our wives. They're supportive. They're wonderful. We love spending time with them. We all love spending time together with one another, and our wives love hanging out with each other. I also look at that and I go, there comes a point in time where all of this ends. And so it's like, we need to treasure these moments outside of work. And that's why it's so important. If we can just focus on that for a minute, why it's so important, then even if we have to do something simple, be wide-eyed, be crazy, set things on your calendar to do.
Yeah. For going into earlier this year with the kids, I sort of epiphany then with the kids as well, that this is the last like kids at home for Christmas sort of thing. Erica will come home from campus Christmas next year, this year, but it's going to be different. It is. Going into last December, I was like, you know what? We're going to figure out when the Rockefeller tree goes. And I'm going to get us there after the tree's there, because I looked at prices for the tree lighting weekend and I said, oh my gosh, I am not Satya Nadella rich. So we're going to go like somewhere in that sweet spot in between. Found a nice weekend. My wife was asking, what's the plan? I was like, all right, pick a show. Let's do a show. Let's do this and that. She goes, what are we going to do the other days? I'm like, no idea. What are the things you want to do? I want to do this, this, and this. It was like 3 or 4 things. I'm like, all right, well, what are you going to do the rest of the time? No idea. But that's what made it good. It was just killing time with each other, walking the city. Went over to Central Park, stood on the big rock looking down in at the South End in Manhattan, right by Trump Tower. Just walked up onto the rock, took a couple selfies with the girls, looking down on that nice little bridge, which might be the bridge they threw Oswald Cobblepot off of when he was a baby in Batman Returns. I can't remember. It looked like it. I was looking at the bridge going, that
nice
might
comic book
be.
tie-in. You stuck the landing well, kept your legs together. I'm going to give you a 10.
Yeah. So, but it was just neat, right? No plan for per se. I mean, we planned to go see and went to go see Wicked and a couple other things. There was a restaurant we wanted to eat at. We wanted to see the tree. But other than that, it was like, we'll figure it out while we're there. Saw about stuff on Instagram, went to go attend things, did whatever. But it was just good to do that.
Niraj, what about you? Do you've got like a random family thing you do or that you've done? Do you have a weekend where you're just further caution to the wind?
So, I mean, I agree what Josh said, right? I mean, we used to plan a lot on the vacation. This time when we went to Netherlands, my wife, the only thing that she wanted to see was the Tutti Festival, and that's it. And she's like, other days, we'll just figure it out. I mean, we took random bike rides. We took random drives, like just going through the fields, just staying there, take selfies and all this stuff. So that is something my wife just taught me up, right? I mean, I took her on the 40th birthday, a surprise trip. She did not know till she reached Paris. I mean, she's just like on the flight. She's like, where are we going? And like, I had a hop at Iceland. And she's like, oh, we're going to Iceland? I'm like, nope. And then we went to Paris that way. And she had no idea that I had called her family from India and up there. And then she's on the 41st birthday. I hope you're giving a surprise party. And I'm like, yeah, that was 40, not 41st. She's like, I'm going to become only 41 for one time. It's once time is gone. So you should just celebrate each and every birthday. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense completely.
Hold on a second. Look at this swab motherfucker sitting over here. Yeah, she didn't even know it. I took her to Paris. Called her family. We did this. Hey, Niraj, look at that game.
Did you expect anything else from Niraj? No.
I did that. Last year. She did not want a party. She did not wanted to just have a party where people come in and so we were like, okay, where do we go? So went through the list of things that she wanted to go. I mean, she wanted to go to Switzerland, which was really cold, so that was not going to work out. Then I was talking to her brother in India, and she's like, yeah, we can join. So he comes down up there from India. We are staying in the hotel, and I like, oh, go and open the door. I think the waiter might have come up with some cake or something. And that's where our brother was. And that's how we planned it out. And then we went around Paris for 5 days, just nothing planned. One of my friend up in Paris that said, these are the places that you should visit, but nothing planned. Like we have to be here at this point of time or do this thing.
That's very cool.
Nice. And
I like that a lot.
Brad, you're the one who introduces Niraj. And one of the introductions was basically along the lines that Niraj beat Chuck Norris. So for you to be surprised that Niraj snuck that in and took her to Paris, like, dude, come on, really? Do you even read what you write? I'm just saying.
I feel what you're saying. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm putting it in a pocket and I'm giving it back to you because Niraj is full of surprise. And that's the number one thing you need to know. We just barely scratched the surface of the talents that Niraj Jafari has got.
I'm glad. I thought you were going to say we've barely scratched the surface of Niraj. I was like, whoa, why you got to beat up on Niraj? Why you got to do that?
I think if you scratch him, though, he would smell like sweet strawberries.
I was going to say we don't need to. Nobody needs to scratch the surface of Niraj. Leave Niraj's surface.
Oh, now it's just getting weird. Okay.
As we're winding down here with connecting, first off, folks, all is not lost for Dan Taylor, right? I do disconnect from work. I do that are fun. I go to concerts. I go to art shows with my son. I do a lot of things. I need to do better, though. But one trick I have found that I utilize at night at 5 o'clock, I unplug my laptop. And as we know, laptop batteries are horrible. After about 2.5, 3 hours, it's going to start barking at me and it's going to shut down. No holds bar. It shuts down. And at that point, I'm off the laptop. Now, I need to do better with the phone, but that's one of my hacks that I use, folks, to disconnect from work.
I have bad news. I just leave my house.
I think it's important to do those little things. One of the things we'll do, there's a hotel nearby. Every now and then we'll go there. They've got a great spa. They've got great restaurants. We don't even leave the hotel. We go in there. They've got a good pool. We've taken the kids to do this before. We'll get a cabana, get a massage for Sue and myself. We'll have a nice dinner. And it's always a good, really good time. Everybody with multiple kids will recognize this. It's tough to get that one-on-one time. A couple weekends ago, we went just randomly, Sue and part of her family, my brother-in-law and his wife and their daughter, my mother-in-law. We all went down to Lido Beach. At Lido Beach, Zach came with me. Will was working. Serenity had to spend the night party at somebody's house. As we're doing this trip, I realized Zach and I have never taken a trip together before. Will and I have taken a trip together. Serenity and I have taken a trip together. Zach and I had never. And so Zach and I got a room together, had this gorgeous view of the beach, had a wonderful time down there hanging out with them. And Zachary is very quiet. Initially, I was worried. I joked with him and I said, yeah, you got to talk me all the way down to this drive. And it's like 2.5 hours. And I told him, no, I'm just kidding. Whenever you decide you want to get quiet, that's fine. I'll just put on a podcast. Zach talked me all the way there and we had great conversations. And coming back, I think it was like 10 or 15 minutes from home was when we finally got quiet and we listened to some music. We listened to a podcast, had a blast with him. And I was so glad I got that experience with him. That was a random ad hoc experience that I hadn't planned. Sometimes I think those random ad hoc experiences are just the best.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that was honestly probably the highlight for me of the road trip with Erica was the driving. As odd as that sounds, driving basically over almost an entire week. It was the conversations in the drive that made it. The conversations, the joking about music. She's a huge Taylor Swift fan. I put up with Taylor Swift for my daughters.
I'm a Swiftie. You don't need to hate that. She's amazing.
No, and I don't hate because I look at it, it's not my cup of tea. But yeah. It was, it was just good conversation, good fun, but that was the best part. The walking, one of the stops we made was Savannah. walking along the river in Savannah, just chatting.
And you know how we always say kids are the truth. I love the car moments with Parker, with my son, because he let me know the other day, he's like, this is the only time you don't look at Facebook or Twitter or anything like that is when we're driving and you actually open up and talk to me. And that was like a shot to the heart in a positive way, and another way that made me open up and go, dang, he is 100% on the mark. And so that's why I love those driving trips, because I put the phone down, Niraj, and and pay attention to the road. But I could see all three of us at the same time when I said put the phone down. We looked at our little buddy there, Niraj.
I looked at Niraj, but then I looked, at my own like camera in where we're recording this, and I looked at myself and I went, how many times have you put your car into autopilot because your drive was boring and you're going to start scrolling stuff with other people in the car? Like, I've done that.
Here's what I've got from this that I think that we pull away that is really significant. First off, is understanding the reason why it's so important to disconnect for work. And the fact is, you've got stuff that you care about, that you want to focus on, that we need to focus on outside of work. And so it's important to disconnect. So when we look at disconnecting, it's important to take those apps either off your phone, have a profile that silences those alerts once you get past your workday, or stop looking at it. Same thing with computers, shut them down. Have a place where you can leave it. Look at a ritual that you can perform that says, hey, I'm leaving this behind. I have a specific place. I know most of us do that. We work in our house. When I walk away from that, I try and walk away from it so that way I'm no longer working. If you need help with stress, then certainly you can try mental exercises, breathing. But one thing I did try looking at the world with new eyes and go for a walk, go out on a drive, pretend it's the first time you've been somewhere, and just really take in sights, maybe small businesses that you haven't seen before. Maybe there's a new place that you could try going out to eat, or just look at, the environment, the landscape, a sunset with a sense of awe and wonder that you've never seen this before. How are you guys doing?
I'm feeling a little bit.
If you're feeling it?
Feeling it right here in my heart. No, I'm feeling a little bit more mentally stable-ish.
All right. I love you all. You're my favorite. Don't tell Mom.
Oh, I'm totally telling her.
Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. Way back before we blew it all.